They say life slows down after 50, that you finally get a sense of calm after all the storms you've survived. I believed that for a long time. After my husband died, I thought the rest of my life would be quiet, predictable, maybe even lonely, but safe. What I didn't expect was how quickly that illusion would be shattered and how deeply someone unexpected would stir parts of me I thought had been buried forever. At 50, my days had become routine. Morning coffee at the same spot by the window. A short walk. Work that paid the bills but didn't demand too much. The occasional visit from a friend. Nights spent with a book or old movies playing softly in the background. My husband had been gone for years, and with him, all the wildness of love and passion seemed to have gone too. I convinced myself I didn't need it anymore. That those chapters had closed. Then Daniel came into my life. He was 26. Quiet, steady, the kind of man who didn't need to fill the air with words to make his presence felt. He came through a mutual friend who mentioned he needed a temporary place to stay while sorting out his next steps. I had a spare room. It seemed simple, harmless, logical. But it wasn't. The first weeks were uneventful. We coexisted like polite strangers, passing each other in the kitchen, exchanging brief greetings, sharing the occasional meal. Yet there was something about him that unsettled me in ways I couldn't quite name. He had this way of noticing details, of listening without interruption, of showing care in the smallest, quietest gestures. He'd bring home a bag of groceries, not just for himself, but for me too, things I hadn't mentioned in years, things I thought I'd forgotten. Once, he set a mug of tea down next to me, a blend I hadn't tasted since my 20s. "Thought you might like this," he said casually, as though it were nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It was memory. It was thoughtfulness. And it landed heavier than I wanted to admit. Another time, I came home to find the faucet fixed, the plants watered, the dog walked, all without being asked. He didn't announce these things or expect recognition. He just did them, quietly, as though my comfort mattered. It had been so long since I'd been considered. I began lingering in spaces where I knew he'd be. The kitchen, the living room. Listening to the low hum of his voice as he cooked, or the way his laugh seemed to loosen something in my chest. Our conversations grew longer. They weren't about surface things like weather or errands. He asked questions that pulled me out of myself. What songs shaped your youth? What scared you most as a kid? What did you think your life would look like by now? I answered honestly, sometimes hesitantly, but always with a strange relief. And he listened. Really listened. No interruptions, no judgments, just full attention. That alone was disarming. One stormy night, the power went out. We lit candles and sat close, our shadows flickering on the walls. He asked me softly, "Do you ever feel like you're chasing a future that just keeps slipping further away?" The question hit me harder than I expected. Before I could stop myself, I nodded. "Yes. You're not alone in that," he murmured. That night shifted something. I couldn't pretend he was just a guest anymore. There was a warmth building between us, slow but undeniable. I started noticing him differently, the way his eyes softened when they met mine, the way his laughter lingered in the room even after he left it. I told myself it was just companionship, the comfort of not being alone. But deep down, I knew it was more. One particularly heavy day, when grief and exhaustion pinned me down, I shut myself away in my room. But Daniel didn't leave me alone. He sat quietly beside me until I finally looked up. "Are you okay?" he asked gently, like he really wanted the truth. "I'm fine," I whispered, though my voice cracked. He reached for my hand, his touch steady. "You don't have to be. You deserve to be held. I see you." Those words undid me. No one had said something like that to me in years. It wasn't dramatic or rehearsed. It was just truth. "This wasn't supposed to happen," I whispered. "I know," he replied, meeting my gaze without flinching. "But I'm glad it did." There were no dramatic declarations. No rushed confessions. Just a quiet closeness that grew naturally, like ivy finding sunlight. With him, I didn't need to hide the cracks or wear a mask of strength. I could just be. Still, doubts crept in. The age difference. The judgments of others. The nagging voice in my head that said this couldn't last. But every time I saw the sincerity in his eyes, those doubts quieted. Eventually, Daniel moved into his own place. Our lives shifted, but never drifted. He still came over, still cooked dinner in my kitchen, still asked about my day with genuine interest. And slowly, I realized something I had been too afraid to admit. Love doesn't always come crashing in with fireworks and declarations. Sometimes it sneaks in quietly. Sometimes it looks like an extra bag of groceries, a mug of tea, a hand reaching for yours in silence. Daniel didn't just bring affection into my life. He gave me back pieces of myself I thought were lost forever. He reminded me that it's never too late for love, never too late for a second chapter. And maybe, just maybe, this chapter is the one I was always meant to write.